So, hey gang, thanks for tuning in today. Hey, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel or Facebook or whatever, I hope you enjoy. I got some really great content for you today with my friend Steve Eckert. Before you do anything, make sure to hit the subscribe button that's usually below this video because every week there's new content like this or even better. So Steve's been a coaching client for a while now, involved in our coaching program, helping mentor entrepreneurs from all around the world. In our recent live meeting, he shared a concept that I think is so important for every entrepreneur, that we struggle with the ups and downs of business every day. And male entrepreneurs in particular, I think, suffer from this the most. Steve, I understand you're talking about the sensitive topic of ED today.
Yes, it's something that I struggled with for so much of my adult life, even at my younger years, just all the time. It came to a point that it was such a problem with ED that I probably almost needed to be on medication and should have been on medication possibly because of this ED problem that I had. And I think you need to get your minds out of the gutter, because what we're talking about is probably not what you're thinking. We're talking about emotional discipline. ED is emotional discipline. And that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Sweet, man. That's awesome. And I think this is critically important because, as you and I have kind of talked off camera and with the students that are in our mentorship program presently, like, it's a difficult, lonely road as an entrepreneur, and it's easy to experience those really high highs and those really low lows that lead to really reactive decision making, which is really a recipe for disaster. So, I would love if you could share with people, like, you had an amazing diagram and an analogy for helping people understand, how this fits into their life and how they can manage it. So can you share that with us today?
Yeah, it's basically all about the peaks and the valleys. And as entrepreneurs in the fitness industry, especially, I'm sure it is in all small business or even larger business, even in corporations, I'm sure the CEO goes through the ups and downs. Not only do they go through the ups and downs, that's where they live. They're always living on the highs and the lows. It's one day you close a big deal. It's like the greatest thing ever. It's success. You can retire. And within, sometimes it could be days, weeks, sometimes even hours and minutes, you go through this throughout your day. This could be throughout your day. Then you have an employee who just quits on the spot. So now you've just hit a complete low. Now you're living in the lows, and you're never able to maintain that balance, that emotional discipline. So it's just a roller coaster ride that you're living on all day. And literally this goes day to day, and sometimes hour to hour, minute to minute, as you're an entrepreneur, especially in a small business, a competitive industry, like we're in the fitness industry, and it's extremely competitive. You live in those two regions. So the whole purpose of ED is to cut the peaks and the valleys and live in that middle spot. And we call it staying in the green. And in a little bit, I can even draw out that diagram, if that'll probably help explain this in a little bit.
Yeah, man, why don't you actually?
So I'm going to drop this diagram of ED for you. So we'll just label this ED up at the top. This is specifically color-coded for a reason, and we're going to go into that in a second. So I'm just going to draw out this quick diagram. It's going to be the quick, ugly version of it, because I lift weights for a living. I do not draw. I'm not an artist. So I'm just going to show you exactly how this works and give you examples of each of these. So the highs we like to put in as the blue. That's just like the happy color, the blue color. That's these highs right here that you go through as an entrepreneur throughout. It's throughout your career, really, but it's also throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the year, and you go through phases. And I think anyone that's an entrepreneur knows what I mean. And down here are the lows. That's when you lose a deal, you have a problem with zoning, the ups and downs. You lose some money, a big project doesn't work, and that's the red. That's staying the red. Where we want to stay, we call it in the green. And that's this middle section here. And the green, although that's a straight line, it's never going to be a straight line, because you are going to have highs and lows, but this is under your control as long as you're staying here in the green. Now, when you're outside of the green on this high part up here on the blues, that is when you're going to be complacent. And old military term, it says complacency kills, because when you're all happy and things are all great and you're closing deals, you are making good decisions, you're hired, got a new hire, everything is so great. But you get complacent because you think it's so great. Think about a lottery winner. It's like the percent of lottery winners that have gone bankrupt is like 60 or 70% or something, some ridiculous number, because they win all this money. They don't think about taxes. They don't think about investing. and they blow it all and they go bankrupt. That's because they got complacent and it just killed them. They lived in the blue. Now down here on the red, the bottom is ID. When you're in the red, you're pissed off, you're out of control. And that is you're making irrational decisions. That's what the ID is for. In the green, we call it MB. MB could either mean maintain your bearing, or I even like to take it a step further and say military bearing, because that's helping you to stay focused. This whole middle line is where you need to stay. Now, the reason why this is a wave here, this green, is because we're not saying that you're just going to be straightforward and just calm and smooth. You're going to get excited. You're going to come onto the borderline of this blue, but under your control. You're also going to get upset, angry, jumpy, but in your control. The second you cross that line, that green, this green right here, turns into the red. Once it goes to the red, that's out of your control. And you, like someone that punches a hole in the wall and they get pissed. They might be screaming, yelling, making some valid points, and they're here when they're in an argument, but the second they go over that line is when they punch a hole in the wall or they smash their TV on the ground. I think some people could probably relate to that, or relate to that at least in a business sense. But I'm just giving a real clear, simple example of what in the red means. Now, when the situation calms down and they're back to normal, they're like, holy shit, why the hell did I put a hole in the wall and I have to go fix this? Or why did I just smash that new TV? Because they were in the red. It was completely out of their control. It's almost, this red is almost like an out-of-body experience. And the blue, where you're complacent, is just as bad, just as dangerous for you as a small business owner as the red is. They're equally dangerous. That's why you need to stay in the green, under your control. Now, 3 ways to maintain in that green is simple. So we like all of these little acronyms or whatever, these initials. So the 3 ways to stay in the green are CYC, CCC, and POP. This is, I live by this, literally live by this in life, with my family, in business, because if you don't, you're going to crash and burn. CYC is control your crazy. CCC is calm conquers chaos, and POP means pissed on purpose. You only get mad on purpose. So if you just react to someone because something goes wrong or someone does something stupid in the business or in life, just use this in the context of everywhere, in your personal life, with your family, in your business, your career, everything, with your friends, family, every area you can think of this. But since we're talking business and really gyms, we'll give you those examples also. But let's say someone does something stupid in your gym. You get pissed off, and you're going to, here in the red, you're going to probably say something you don't mean, maybe hastily like fire someone, write someone up when it's not even needed. But there's times where you're going to get POP, pissed on purpose. Now that's here, still in the green. It's borderline red, but that's because you're doing it on purpose, under control. You know you're not going to say anything offensive. You're not going to do anything you don't mean. Think of a boxing coach. There are fighters out there not following the game plan during the round. They come back to the corner in between the rounds, and the coach is in there yelling at them. The trainer's yelling at them in the ring. It looks like he's putting the fighter down, or he's degrading the fighter. But the smart eye knows, hopefully, he's in the green. He's here on the borderline. He's pissed on purpose to get an outcome. Or the coach at halftime of the football team who's been slacking off, that hasn't been doing the plays that have been called. They've been screwing up the plays. They've been calling the wrong plays, not listening to the coaching. He goes into the locker room and he throws a fit. But guess what? Most of the time when a coach does that, that is pissed on purpose. He's doing that to get the outcome, to motivate them, to lift them up. So there is a time to get pissed on purpose. He's also controlling his crazy, because sometimes that team might be doing something so stupid on the field that he could snap and go into the red, and that's just going to go downhill. They have no chance of recovering and coming back. And then also CCC, calm conquers chaos. Always in the storm, in combat, in battle. If you have several targets all over the place, running all over the battlefield, and you're just crazy and you're in the red because you're nervous and your life is in danger, you just start shooting randomly. You're holding automatic fire and you're shooting all over the place. You'll probably hit nothing. You're lucky if you just maybe clip one person, and there's 20, 30 people running in all different directions out in the battlefield. But if you stay calm amongst that chaos, you're going to conquer the chaos, meaning you're just nice and calm and smooth, one problem at a time. Big deep breath, inhale, exhale, bam, pop one target down at a time. Nice and calm. You're going to destroy that chaos, that you're going to overcome. You're going to conquer that chaos by CCC. So CYC, control your crazy. CCC, calm conquers chaos. And POP means piss on purpose, meaning you're always staying in this green It's always under your control. I'm not saying you can't be wild and crazy. I'm not saying you can't have fun and be happy, but it has to be within these borderlines. You need to cut those peaks and valleys, because that's where, right here, you need to cut it right there, those peaks and valleys, because that's where you get into that complacent area. So you could be happy. You could be right here in the green, but you don't want to cross that line. Same thing here. So you could celebrate, but it's like, okay, you get this victory, you hire this new hire, great, what's next? You win a championship. You win the World Series in baseball. Guess what? Spring training is right around the corner. It's like, all right, we won this, high five each other, let's celebrate real quick. All right, what's next? Let's stay here. Because there's a good amount of teams that win a championship, they're here. They're high, on cloud nine. And guess what? They go out partying, and now they're just living the new life. In boxing also, especially, their next fight, they just get completely knocked out. They lost that hunger. So by staying in the green, what it's also doing, it keeps you hungry. It keeps you focused. It keeps you motivated. It keeps you disciplined. And it doesn't let you get blinded, because you will get blinded by the blue. And you will get blinded by the red. And they're equally dangerous. So I hope that was a good, quick breakdown for you, explain it for you. Cable, is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah, no, this is perfect, man. And I just wanted to let you finish, because the real reason I wanted you to teach this today is that when you presented this just a couple of weeks ago at the live event, this was really, really impactful for me. So my wife's in here looking for a key, so I will just pass her the key. So cool. All right. So let me just back up for a second. So yeah, man, now that you finished, I didn't want to interrupt you, because that was really, really powerful what you were saying. And there's an exact reason why I wanted to teach this today. Because a couple weeks ago when you presented this to the live mastermind, I never told you this afterwards, and it really has resonated with me since, as we've been waiting for today, as just how impactful this was even on me. And the concept is so simple. So if you're watching this, you might be going, look, like that's common sense or whatever, or that's a real simple concept. But hearing it, and hearing you talk about the acronyms, I know personally was super impactful for me, which is exactly why it will help other people. Because you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself if you don't find yourself in either of those positions, whether we're so elated and happy about what's going on, or we're so pissed off or upset about something. You're lying to yourself if you don't think you end up there. But remembering your speech and just this concept in general, and using those acronyms to go, hey, wait a second. I'm really angry, but if I just calm my chaos or control my crazy to make sure that I'm not going to say something or do something that I'm going to regret later, or that's going to cause more damage, it's a pretty powerful tool that gives you the ability to focus. Because you might remember when you were done teaching, I asked you, like, hey, what do you do when you're in that point of flipping over, right? And what did you tell me? What did you tell me at the mastermind?
If you know you're on the borderline and you're having trouble dealing, a lot of times as you practice this, you eventually can just ground yourself and center yourself and deal with yourself. But there are those situations where you need to reach out. You need to reach out and send in the call a friend card, and call it. It's as simple as that. Call a friend, usually someone that can relate to you, a mentor. So I wouldn't really say call a friend. I'd say call a coach or a mentor, because you may call a friend who maybe is just working in an office job and is not going to be able to relate to you. So they're not really going to be able to help you as much. So I would say call a peer. Call a peer is more what I would say, or a coach or a mentor, even something even above that. And that's going to help you to ground you. And you've been that for me a couple times. I remember as we were growing, when you have 30 clients and you lose one client, it almost breaks you. It almost kills you. Oh my God, we lost one person. Now when you go to 200, 300 clients, now you're going to lose per month. It could be 8, 9, 10 on a certain month. And now you're like, wow, 1 used to suck. Now 10 is so horrible, but you're not thinking proportionally. And I remember this phone call specifically a couple of years ago I had with you, and that kept me grounded. I went in the red. I was freaking out. What are we going to do? Oh my God, we just lost 10 clients. I used to freak out on 1, now 10.
Right.
But it's so clear that the proportionate, think of the big picture, see it from the outside. You need to remain calm. And basically you were saying to stay in the green without even saying it, because think about it. For every one of those people, you have 75 to 100 happy customers, happy clients. And I was like, wow, that really makes sense. It used to be every one person was like death, doom, and destruction. But now as you scale and grow, you obviously want to keep your attrition rate at 0, but we know it can get up to 3%, 5%. I think the industry average is probably closer to 10%, I really think, in general. Yeah. So under 10%, I think you're ahead of the game, really. If you can keep it 5%, that's great. So even those numbers that I thought was so horrible, once we broke it down, it was something like 2.5% compared to the amount of total members I had. And I'm like, all right, that makes sense. All right, stay in the green, nice and smooth, stay in the green. So that's a perfect example of it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the message, right? And like I said, I think people are crazy if you don't admit to yourself that we experience that. And as entrepreneurs and as coaches, I think the visual that you shared and just the reminder of this concept is really powerful. In that this will stick with you as it stuck with me. And it's like in those points where you're crossing over, you'll think of this presentation, and it will help you make better decisions. I think the red ones are obvious when you're upset and emotionally disconnected and out of control. Like those are the obvious ones where you need to turn to others and support yourself. But I was curious in lead up for today's call, because we've all seen this as coaches, and especially now with us working together in the mastermind, I know that you're seeing this the same way as I do, is that, you know, entrepreneurs become more successful in exactly that. It's like they coast and ride the wave, and then everything comes crashing down and disastrous. As trainers, we see it too. Like, look at every one of your clients that has rebounded and gained their weight back. This is exactly what's happened. So I was curious, I wanted to hear what you had to say about those times of elation. Like when you're on those really high highs, I think that's more difficult. It's more difficult to ground yourself in those situations because you're feeling invincible. So how do you do that?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said the blues are just as dangerous or even more dangerous than the reds, because they're in this guise of you're invulnerable, you're successful. So knowing that you're in the long game. This is not a sprint. It's not even a marathon. This is a forever game. You have to survive till the end. So thinking that the blue, you're never going to stay in the blue the whole time. So it's just a reality check. Like, all right, let's look at a gym. They want to get a gym. They're looking for a space. They found the perfect space. They found a lease, and they signed the lease. They're in the blue. They're sky high. Now they get a conditional use permit. They're in the red. Like, it starts right from the beginning. Right. It's your whole time. But it's a perfect gym example. Then the court approves it. They get approved. They get a grand opening. They sell 150 trials for the grand opening. They all come in. They're back into the blue. Guess what? Now there's some delay on the delivery of their equipment. Now they're back in the red. They're pissed off. It's the end of the world. Death, doom, and destruction. The equipment comes in time. Those trials come in. They start their sessions. But now they don't have the systems and process in place. So now a small percentage of those trials actually sign up for programs. So in the red, oh my God, I had 150 of these people. Only 30 of them stayed on. We only have 30 members now. It's the end. We're never going to be able to make rent. It's just, this is the life of an entrepreneur in a gym. Then they dial in some system processes. They do another campaign, fine-tune things, train their sales skills, and they sign up a whole bunch of new clients. Now they have up to 100 full-paying clients for 12 months. Now we could just coast and cruise if you're thinking that, and that's a mistake. That's why you've already experienced it right from the beginning. From the first day you've been thought about a lease, looking for a place, then someone outbid you for the place. You've lost that space all the way to this time. Now you have 100 clients, 100 paying clients for 12 months, and now you start seeing, wait a minute, why are they canceling? I'm getting 10 cancellations a month, like we were just talking about. And you freak out. It's the end of the world. They're all going to cancel. I suck. I'm the worst trainer. I'm going out of business. But then you realize there's some holes in your system for your training or getting results or your accountability for your members. So you put that into place, and now your attrition rate stabilizes, and you're back into the blue. So you just have to know, like knowing from the beginning, and this is everything. I'm using a gym as an example. You can relate this to any business. You can relate this really to anywhere in life.
Yes, 100%.
A diet, right? They do the crash. You were just saying, they do a crash diet. They lose all this weight. It's the same thing. It's a yo-yo effect. The same exact thing. They're never in the middle. They're never stabilizing. They're never healthy. The middle is really just healthy. Emotional discipline also just means emotional health. It's not healthy to be in the blue all the time because you'll crash and burn there. You can't survive there. You have to know the reality of just your experience and your coaches and mentors' experience that shit ain't gonna last forever. Those leads aren't gonna last forever. They're not gonna sign up. They're gonna cancel. It's just a never-ending game. And I love the game. It's like the game. It's like the hunt. And you don't have to worry about the red. You don't have to worry about the blue because you know what's on the other side. You know if you're just maintaining the green, you're always gonna be moving forward. You're always gonna be growing and improving. And the green makes you invincible. You have false belief that the blue makes you invincible, but the green is what makes you invincible because the blue won't slow you down and make you get complacent. The red won't make you crash and burn and make irrational decisions. So no matter what happens, you have the confidence that you have the ability to figure it out no matter what happens. No matter how good it gets, you're not going to let it slow you down. You know what? You're going to say, I know the crash is coming. No matter how good it is, I'm going to push even harder now. I'm going to act like that didn't even happen because I know it's going to crash and burn and go back down. So I'm always just maintaining. That's just, to me, health and confidence and success lives in the green.
Yeah. Yeah, man, super powerful. I think this is I think it was the first really great start for these types of interviews. Man, I just think a very powerful lesson. You know, the moral of the story, like I would have never believed if you would have asked me when I started, when I opened my first business and became self-employed entrepreneur for the first time, I would have never believed that the same recipe that would provide success in business would also be applicable to success in life, family, friendships, relationships. And I really think that this concept is central to that. Like, and I love what you said there about we think that blue makes us invincible, but it's actually the green that makes us invincible, because it is about the constant, and I'm going to call it the illusion of control, because I don't think we're ever truly in control. But the point is that we have to be able to, that's it. Like that's the skill set. That's the muscle you're building to be able to identify when your emotions are getting the best of you, whether that be for the good or for the bad. I think really, really powerful. So I hope, like I said, I hope this impacts many as it impacted me, in that reminder of that concept has been so powerful. And I would say the moral of the story is that this is still life is still a team sport. So you can't go it alone. And it's like, surround yourself with a community of people that you trust in any situation. So, you know, for your family, surround yourself with families that have the same values as yours. So you have somewhere to turn when maybe things cross over that point of control. In business, surround yourself with people more successful than you, or people that you look up to, because those are the ones that are going to help bring you back to ground when you're too high or too low. Man, I think super powerful. So thank you for sharing this today. Anything that you wanted to add or talk about before we wrap up?
Just what we were kind of saying is that we're talking about in a gym specifically, and also in the broader picture of a business, but even I apply this in my family. My kids, 5-year-old and 7-year-old, understand this entire chart. They know what the blue means. They know what the green means. When they see someone snap, like a kid at soccer practice, the father starts snapping and yelling at kids. My son Tyson, 7 years old, will come to me and say, he's in the red. He's making a scene in front of the whole place because his son screwed up on the soccer field. Tyson screws up on the soccer field, you're not going to go and I'm not going to go and bash him in front of the whole place. But also when he scores a goal, you're going to clap and celebrate it. But you know, okay, you scored the goal, but you better get back into the green, because guess what? Now they're coming right back downfield, so you need to get back in the green and stay focused. Don't just run around circles and laps around the field celebrating. So we apply this in everywhere with our kids like this. We live by this code, and it keeps the family life smooth and under control, as well as the business life. It applies in all variations of life, all aspects of life.
Yeah, man, from one father to another, I'm proud of you. And I think that's so inspiring. Knowing that my son is 2.5, I think the skills that you're giving your children by teaching them to look at the world through that lens, I think is so, so powerful. And hopefully a few other people like really, I hope this message is impactful for other people. So awesome, man. Can't thank you enough. Thanks for making time for me today.